Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. And today I'm going to give my review of AEW's Dynamite. Starting off the evening, we'll go to our first match of the night. It is for the AEW's International Championship. It is Orange Cassidy defending the International Championship against Wheeler Yuta. I thought it was a good match. Back and forth matchup between Wheeler Yuta and Orange Cassidy, with Wheeler and Orange Cassidy both exchanging in the middle of the ring. Wheeler Yuta then hits a devastating pile driver on Orange Cassidy off the ramp. It looked absolutely brutal. Wheeler was keeping the pace of the match, but Orange Cassidy hits a Michinoku driver on Wheeler Yuta in the middle of the ring. Moxley and Claudio are ringside. Orange Cassidy then hits a paradigm shift to mock Jon Moxley. Orange Cassidy then hits an orange punch on Wheeler Yuta. Orange then hits a roll-up, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Orange Cassidy. After the match, Moxley and Claudio then attack Orange Cassidy. Best Friends are here as well. Best Friends then attack Moxley and Claudio. Lucha Brothers are also here as well. They end up coming down to the ring to attack Moxley and Claudio. Eddie Kingston then shows up. Kingston then attacks Claudio on the ramp. Eddie Kingston then grabs a microphone and says Kingston, Lucha Bros, and Best Friends with Orange Cassidy versus Moxley and Claudio and teammates of their choosing in a Stadium Stampede match at All In. Hats off to Orange Cassidy for getting the win in that matchup and retaining the International Championship. Moving on from that, we have Kenny Omega sitting down with Jim Ross talking about All In. Omega talks about what Uncle Don has done for him throughout his career and his personal life. Ross then says Omega was replaced by Takeshita in the Don Callis family. Don then joins Ross and Omega, and then quickly Jay White and Juice Robinson then attack Omega with Takeshita as well. After that, Paige is shown backstage with an ambulance, talks about Omega having friends, and then Paige says it will be Omega, Paige, and Kota Ibushi versus Jay White, Juice Robinson, and Takeshita at All In. So some interesting news there for Kenny Omega. And it looks like we're going to have a 6-man tag team matchup at All In with Kenny Omega teaming up with Adam Page and Kota Ibushi versus Juice Robinson, Jay White, and Takeshita. Definitely looking forward to that match at All In. Moving on from that, we have a Don Callis and Jericho segment. Don Callis talks about Omega. Callis then talks about JAS walking away from Jericho. Jericho then says he doesn't join factions, he creates them. Jericho then says yes to joining the Don Callis family. Don Callis then has a painting for Jericho, but it looks like he didn't want to reveal the painting to Jericho after Jericho had said yes. Then Jericho sees the picture, and the picture shows Don Callis holding Jericho's head. Don Callis then didn't think Jericho was going to join him, that's why he made the painting. Don Callis then says Jericho is an egomaniac. Callis also says Jericho doesn't deserve to be in the Don Callis family. Jericho then mocks Don Callis. Jericho says if it wasn't for him, he would not be in wrestling right now. Will Ospreay then attacks Jericho, and then Ospreay hits Jericho with a chair shot, and it looks like we're going to have Will Ospreay versus Chris Jericho at All In. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is a tag team matchup. It is Darby Allin teaming up with Nick Wayne versus Gates of Agony. Before the match even gets started, Gates of Agony quickly attack Darby Allin and Nick Wayne. The match itself, it was a decent match. Back and forth matchup between both teams with the Gates of Agony keeping the pace of the match. Nick Wayne then hits Hurricane Rana off the apron, but Darby Allin ultimately hits the finish, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are Darby Allin and Nick Wayne. After the match, Gates of Agony and Swerve and AR Fox surround the ring. Sting then is shown on the Titantron talking, well, pretty much, I don't know how you would put it, but it was him and Prince Nana backstage talking. Sting talks about the match at All In, says that AR Fox should, watch his back. And it looks like Sting was kind of showing, similar signs to what he was in TNA with the Joker Sting, which I was all for. And Sting was pretty much hyping up their match at All In between Darby Allin, Sting versus AR Fox and Swerve in a tag team coffin match, which should be absolutely awesome. Probably one of the matches of the night, in my honest opinion. Moving on from that, we have an MJF and Adam Cole vignette. Again, I'm a big fan of these vignettes, man. These vignettes between MJF and Adam Cole have been absolutely hilarious for the past few weeks. MJF and Cole are shown sitting down in an Outback steakhouse eating. It also shows MJF and Cole pretty much acting like the Crocodile Hunter, which I thought was absolutely hilarious, man. Again, this stuff between MJF and Adam Cole has been some of the best stuff I've seen on Dynamite in the past few weeks, man. Absolutely awesome stuff to see. which leads us right into an MJF and Cole segment in the ring. MJF then hypes up the crowd in Tennessee. Cole then talks about All In and what it means to him. Cole says that they will become the new Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions, which that match will take place on the 0 hour leading up to All In. Cole says that this will be the biggest match of his career. Cole also says that he's been the top guy in every single wrestling promotion that he has worked for. MJF then mentions his start in pro wrestling. MJF also talks about the fact that he was asked to write down 2 dream opponents if he ever were to have an opportunity to face them in the ring. MJF says one of those opponents was Cody Rhodes, and the other one was Adam Cole. MJF then hypes up Cody Rhodes, pretty much says what Cody Rhodes has done for him in his career, and if it wasn't for Cody Rhodes, he wouldn't be a part of AEW. MJF then says AEW Championship means everything to him, and that he will do everything he possibly can to retain the AEW World Championship in the match against Adam Cole at All In. After he says that, Aussie Open quickly gets into the ring and attacks MJF and Adam Cole, which leads up to their match at 0 hour between Cole, MJF, and Aussie Open for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is a Texas Death Match. It is Jeff Jarrett versus Jeff Hardy. To be honest with you guys, man, I thought this match was cringy. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Jarrett and Hardy. Satnam Singh pretty much attacks Hardy. Ethan Page and Matt Hardy also get involved in this matchup by helping Jeff Hardy. Jeff then hits a swanton through a table on Jeff. Jeff then hits Jarrett with a guitar. Leatherface ends up showing up in this match and chases off Karen Jarrett. Jay Lethal then hits Jeff with a hammer, which allows Satnam Singh to hit a chokeslam on Jeff Hardy. Jarrett then goes for the cover, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Jeff Jarrett. Hats off to Jeff Jarrett for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is Bunny versus Britt Baker. I thought it was a decent match. Back and forth matchup between Bunny and Baker, with Baker keeping the pace of the match, and Baker ultimately hits the finish on the Bunny, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Britt Baker. And because Britt Baker won this match, she is now in the Fatal 4-Way at All In for the AEW Women's Championship. So hats off to Britt Baker for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is the Acclaimed versus Jobbers, pretty much. Before the match even gets started, lights go out, House of Black are in the ring, and the House of Black end up attacking Max Caster and Anthony Bowens. They end up also stealing the boots from the now retired Billy Gunn, so it looks like House of Black are now targeting the Acclaimed in their next storyline. So again, exciting stuff. Still you have to see how this is going to play out between the Acclaimed and House of Black, but I'm definitely looking forward to what's going to happen next. Moving on from that, we go into our main event of AEW's Dynamite. It is the Gun Club versus the Young Bucks. I thought it was a good match, back and forth matchup between the Gun Club and the Young Bucks, with the Young Bucks keeping the pace of the match. Matt ultimately hits a roll-up with the help from Nick Jackson, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are the Young Bucks. After the match, Bullet Club then attacks the Young Bucks. FTR music hits. FTR then surprise the Gun Club, end up attacking the Gun Club as well as Juice Robinson and Jay White. Then Young Bucks and FTR have a stare down in the middle of the ring to set up their match at All In, which is going to be absolutely insane. Couple of things I want to say about Dynamite, man, before I get out of here. Was it a solid Dynamite? No, absolutely not. And again, I'm not the only person that's going to say this, man. I'm sure you guys have heard it from multiple other people. The build leading up to All In has been absolute trash. There's no build leading up to these matches for All In. I mean, the only invested storyline that's really been going on for All In right now, as it is MJF and Adam Cole, which has been absolutely awesome. The vignettes have been played back and forth. The fact that Cole and, MJF were a part of a tag team and that the blind tag team tournament, made it to the finals, went against FTR. They came up short. And now we have another rematch between MJF and Adam Cole at All In the main event for the AEW World Championship. That storyline has been absolutely awesome. Other than that, there has been no other build for these matches leading up into All In. We're about a week and a half away from All In, and there's no storylines being built for this show. The other thing I want to talk about is, obviously I touched base on this last week about the whole CM Punk issue and Tony Khan. And I'm not going to keep, shooting jabs at CM Punk. I think I pretty much said what I needed to say about CM Punk last week. But what I will say in regards to Tony Khan is I think Tony Khan severely dropped the ball with All In. I really do. I truly believe what happened here is that, and again, this is just my opinion, Tony Khan, this All-In show is hyped up to be the biggest wrestling event ever. With 80,000 seats sold, it's bigger than WrestleMania. It's bigger than, I believe it was SummerSlam 1992, if I'm not mistaken. At least that's the way they're hyping it up. 80,000 seats sold. So I think what happened is that I don't think Tony Khan and them were really expecting to have 80,000 seats sold for this event, and they did. But because that's already, set in stone and 80,000 people, bought these seats, Tony Khan's going to throw whatever card he wants to throw together because the seats are already sold and he's already made his money. And there's other people saying that, don't book the card, just, make it, a mystery and have people show up. It's a horrible way of going about it. You got people traveling from all over the world to Wembley Stadium to see this event, and to not have the card booked and nobody knows what the hell's going on is a very bad look for AEW and the entire company for AEW itself. It's a bad look. But yeah, man, I feel like, ever since what happened with Collision and CM Punk and stuff like that and Tony Khan, I really truly feel like Tony Khan dropped the ball with All In. And I mentioned this about 2 or 3 weeks ago, that AEW All In can either be AEW's biggest success or its biggest failure. And right now it might lead up to AEW's biggest failure yet to date. Not including the Texas Death Match that we had last night on Dynamite, which has gone down as the single worst match in Dynamite history in its, 4-year existence. So, I mean, it's, my thing is, you had all this time to build leading up to All In. I mean, you had from after Forbidden Door, which was, I believe, June 26th, up to now, which is August 26th, 27th. You pretty much almost got, 2 months to build leading up to this show almost, and all we really got storyline based is MJF and Adam Cole in the main event for All In, which again, I'm sold on that match. I think the storyline builds itself. It's been a great storyline between MJF and Adam Cole, and I think those guys are going to tear the house down. But the rest of the card, man, is just very, very weak, very thrown together, last minute, no storyline being built, and it's atrocious, man. It really is. And there was a couple matches announced last night on Dynamite to lead into All In. Chris Jericho versus Ospreay. Okay, decent match. And then you got a Stadium Stampede match. But there's no build, man. There's no build. You bring Eddie Kingston in, and I have a lot of respect for Eddie Kingston, I do. And I know he's been busy over in Japan, especially with the G1 Climax and stuff like that. I understand that. And he's been doing his thing over there in Japan. But you bring him into the fold in this whole storyline with the Best Friends and the Lucha Bros against the Blackpool Combat Club. We haven't seen Eddie Kingston on Dynamite in quite a while. And the last time we seen Kingston, he had a little turmoil with Jon Moxley backstage, even with Renee Paquette backstage. And we never really got that whole storyline being, pushed forward between Moxley and Eddie Kingston. There was a little bit of turmoil there between Moxley and Kingston. We could have made a great storyline for that leading up to All In. It could have been, a hardcore match, or, I know a lot of people are not, big fans of it, but if they did it right, they can have Eddie Kingston versus Jon Moxley in a barbed wire death match and just have, Kingston and Moxley go at it in one of those matches. It would have been absolutely awesome, because the build alone between those two guys, you have Kingston's mic work and mic skills and Moxley's hardcore edge that he brings into professional wrestling into a match like a barbed wire death match, as an example. I mean, the match sells itself, man. Eddie Kingston is one of those guys that can sell a match like sliced bread. I mean, the fact his mic skills are just underrated. His passion for professional wrestling, and the fact when he says on the microphone, you're going to be 100% inclined to what this man has to say, because like I just said, he can sell a match like sliced bread. And there's not many wrestlers that can do that nowadays. But instead we got Eddie Kingston a part of this alliance, if you will, with the Lucha Bros and the Best Friends for a Stadium Stampede match at All In, with there being no absolute build. Now you could say, okay, well, there's a little bit build between the Best Friends and the Blackpool Combat Club, but how much build is there really when they only had a match on Rampage, which was a street fight match, and that's pretty much it. That was a highlight of it. And now we're having another match at All In for a Stadium Stampede match. Again, there's just not enough build to lead up to these matches leading up to All In. And it's been well over, they've had plenty of time to build these matches. And the other, big part of it is that after All In, literally a week later, you have All Out. So you're really not going to have that much build for neither one of these pay-per-views. So I feel like Tony Khan kind of backed himself in the corner. And to be honest, and I mentioned this last week, the morale backstage in AEW right now is an all-time low. With all the stuff with CM Punk and Tony Khan and, A lot of people were upset with CM Punk as well as Tony Khan. I mentioned this last week, man. Who's really running this company? Is it CM Punk or is it Tony Khan? And I think it's time that Tony Khan needs to become a boss. And not a super fan, not a mark. Be a boss. Because my thing is like, okay, prime example. We're getting the Young Bucks versus FTR. So we're getting half of what we're really looking for. Why couldn't they book CM Punk versus Kenny Omega? Well, they don't want to work together. Well, sometimes you got to put differences aside and make the damn match and be a boss. And it's, you already gave us, like I said, half of the piece of the pie here with FTR and the Young Bucks. Why can't we get that other slice of pie with Kenny Omega and CM Punk? My thing is this. You can make that tag match with FTR and the Young Bucks. Why can't we just have a singles match between Kenny Omega and CM Punk at All In? Even if the Elite do not want to work with CM Punk, there might have been that chance that Kenny Omega was willing to work with CM Punk, and you could have made that into a singles match and booked that match at All In, especially with, the Young Bucks and FTR having a tag team match on the same card. You know what I'm saying? Because right now, we don't even know what CM Punk's even doing for All In. Right now, it's supposedly booked that it's going to be CM Punk versus Samoa Joe. Well, we already seen that damn match on Collision. You're not going to get anything better out of that, between CM Punk and Samoa Joe the second time around. You're not going to make it any better. And I have a lot of respect for Samoa Joe and CM Punk. Big fans of those guys. But you're not going to duplicate you're not going to make it better than what you did originally. It's not going to happen. The only reason why you want to do this match is because it's in front of 80,000 fans and you have no other option right now for CM Punk because Tony Khan does not want to be a boss. And CM Punk is pretty much running the show right now. And that's the vibe I'm getting right now. And honestly, for what it's worth, man, I think a lot of people are just done with the bullshit from CM Punk. To be honest with you. And I'm not the only one saying that. I mean, this whole thing between him and Adam Page and all this other stuff, it's got to stop at some point because the well has run dry. And I mentioned this a while back ago when, and I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but I mentioned when CM Punk was returning to Collision, is the juice worth the squeeze? Is it worth it bringing him back to Dynamite or Collision? Now, again, has Collision got a lot, is Collision based around CM Punk? Absolutely. Has, the numbers have been better for AEW since CM Punk has been back? Sure. But that doesn't mean jack squat if he comes back and there's already backstage morale issues already. And there is. It's been prevalent. It's been known already for the past week that CM Punk has issues with Ryan Nemeth because of comments that Nemeth made, a couple months ago leading up to Punk's return to AEW with the launch of Collision. He made comments on Twitter about it. And Ryan Nemeth and Punk had issues backstage at Collision. I think it was last week. Then you had people that were scheduled to be on the show that were being told to, go to the show and then go home. Now, again, that was Collision. This is Dynamite. But I'm just saying, when it really truly comes down to it, it comes down to Tony Khan. Tony Khan needs to be the boss and not just this super fan. You know what I mean? And a lot of people have said the same thing. I feel like it's Tony Khan is a super fan of AEW or just professional wrestling as a whole. And it's like his, dreams are coming true. And he's replaying matches that he's pretty much booking these matches like you would book them on a WWE Universe Mode game. It's absolutely insane. There's no build, there's no storylines. And unfortunately, because of that, like I told you guys, man, I think AEW's All In a week and a half from now could either be AEW's biggest success or its biggest failure. And nobody's going to point the finger at anybody else right now. If it does go down in flames, then point the finger at Tony Khan. Because you're not booking these matches. There's no long-term booking. There's no long-term storylines. You're just throwing matches together, and here you go. Because at the end of the day, Tony Khan made his money. It's 80,000 seats sold out, man. You think he's really going to be invested in storylines right now? No. And my thing is when AEW was created with the Young Bucks, and I would even throw Cody Rhodes in there, Adam Page, Kenny Omega, their mission statement was that they wanted to be the alternative. They wanted to be different than what WWE was doing. And they're building this company for the fans. Well, if I'm being brutally honest with y'all, I don't really see how there's much difference between what Vince McMahon is doing over WWE than what Tony Khan's doing as of late right now with AEW. I kind of feel like it's really the same between both Vince and Tony Khan. There's not much difference. And you can say, oh yeah, well they're doing this for the fans. Well, okay, if they're doing this for the fans, then why are we not getting a match the fans truly want? Fans want to see the Elite versus FTR and CM Punk. And again, I will reiterate, we're getting a piece of that pie between the Young Bucks and FTR at All In. So why couldn't we just get Kenny Omega in a one-on-one match with CM Punk, especially due to the fact that originally Kenny Omega was supposed to go up against Bryan Danielson at All In, but due to the fact that Danielson got hurt at Forbidden Door against Okada, he was taken off the card for All In. So, again, if you're going to make a dream match like that, why can't we just have CM Punk and Kenny Omega? The hell if the Elite don't want to, if the Young Bucks don't want to work with CM Punk, I guess it is what it is. But you could have booked Kenny Omega in a match against CM Punk at All In, and not a rematch between Punk and Samoa Joe. It's All In. It's the biggest show. It's AEW's WrestleMania. You know, when this whole company first started, or, you know, there was rumors about them making the company, you know, Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks and Adam Page and all those guys and Kenny Omega made an event called All In. That's how all this shit got started. You know, and now it's like, okay, well, you had that, and if it wasn't for that, you guys probably wouldn't be in the position that you're in now. And here's, you know, All In this year, in a week and a half away, the biggest show of the year. They're highlighting it as the biggest wrestling event in the world with 80,000 tickets sold, and there's no build. You're not giving the fans dream matches. You're giving them rematches and no storylines, and you're throwing matches together just to fill a card for All In. And no, you know, with all due respect, you can take CM Punk and Samoa Joe and put that on All Out, because All Out's going to be in Chicago. It's CM Punk's hometown. Why not just move that CM Punk Joe match to All Out in Chicago and put Punk versus Kenny Omega at All In? All In is going to be, it's the biggest show of the year. And we're getting a rematch between possibly Punk and Samoa Joe at All In. I mean, come on, man. I mean, this is why I said, and I truly feel like the morale is on an all-time low right now in AEW. And I feel like the AEW locker room is losing a lot of trust in Tony Khan and what he's trying to do here with AEW. Tony Khan needs to be a boss. You know, this whole, you know, just, I don't know, man. I feel like it's one of those things where I feel like Tony Khan doesn't want to go against CM Punk. He doesn't want to go against what Punk's trying to do. And I'm not putting all, you know, I'm pointing the finger all on Punk on this, but I feel like Tony Khan's just not a boss, man. He just does not want to take control of these shows, and he takes a nonchalant attitude towards what's going on backstage, and it's his way or the highway, and I get it. It's his company. But your mission statement was you're building this company for the fans. You're giving the fans what they want, and right now, All In, maybe besides MJF and Adam Cole, that's the only match on that card that fans really give a damn about. Other than that, the card is very weak. Very, very weak. And thrown together with no storylines being built at all. So, yeah, I mean, when this burns into flames, and like I stated, if this turns out to be AEW's biggest mistake or biggest downfall, the finger's going to be pointed at Tony Khan, man, because Tony Khan didn't take time to build storylines and book All In like it should be and what the fans truly want to see. So, again, if it turns out to be AEW's biggest downfall, everybody's going to be pointing the finger at Tony Khan. But with that being said, this is my review of AEW's Dynamite. I hope you guys are out there staying safe, be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.